Race 2 of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup for 2019 here at a slightly overcast Donington Park. And we're building on what was a fantastic first race yesterday afternoon that saw plenty of drama and a race victory for Mark Wakefield, his second of the season. The cars now already heading up onto the grid ready for their formation lap. This grid is set by the results of race 1 yesterday, but a partially reversed grid with the top 6 in reverse order. You can see track temperature 23 degrees, a little bit cooler at 18.9 degrees in the air. Russell Joyce will start from pole position. Alongside him, Jack Depper in the VW Scirocco. Then row 2, we'll see Josh Coggan, who started at pole yesterday and was on course for race victory in the first half of the race, starting third alongside the first of the 2 Audi TT with Owen Walton. Then it's father Simon behind him on row 3 alongside yesterday's race 1 winner, Mark Wakefield. He's looking to make his third win of the season in this second race this afternoon. Champion Eden Martin Depper is back in 7th, but should be free of whatever balance he had yesterday. He starts alongside his fellow Scirocco driver, Matt Evans. And rounding out the top 10 is Rob Allen. He picked up a 4-second penalty yesterday added to his race time. He starts alongside Tony Prendergast at the end of the top 10. Mark Steele is in 11th place on row 6 alongside Michael Jones to complete the top 12. And then looking back towards the rest of the field, we see Richard Gilbert and Lewis Smith, who retired. He was shown as being finishing the race yesterday, but not classified for whatever reason. The reason is not clear on the results sheet, sadly. Jeff Alden had a very crazy front left suspension failure right at the end of the race, means he never even made the flag. And last year's vice champion returning this weekend, Rory Clark, sadly retired after only just 1 lap, with lots of work to do to get that car back in running order. So Russell Joyce then has the daunting task of starting from pole position, but of course some of the faster cars behind will try and push their way up through the order. Of course, now obviously some of these guys were working with success balance based on the fact that they had success yesterday. But watching for cars to come through, the biggest driver I think to look for is certainly going to be Martin Depper from 7th on the grid. He should have most of that ballast severely removed, which means he should be pretty quick, looking to try and pick up another race victory. He currently has at the moment 3 race victories to his name. He's taken a race win each so far by the looks of things at Alton Park, Snetterton and at Silverstone. And he led the way coming into the weekend on drop scores, but of course Owen Walton would have closed that in quite severely. As sure if that's one of his worst results of the season, he would have been allowed to drop that and put himself back up through the field. You can see from what was been a slightly overcast day all day today, but the marshals have been very hardy souls out there, so thanks as ever to our fantastic British marshals who've been working hard all weekend to make sure that any incidents and spillages and anything else that's been causing trouble on track has been cleared up as quickly as possible. And remember, these guys are all volunteers. They all give up their free time for the sport they love, and genuinely race meetings like this couldn't happen without them, so we give a massive thanks to them. And I think it's fair to say, in my personal opinion, that British marshals are genuinely the best in the world. They're trained to such a high standard, they get refresher training every single year, and they do a fantastic job to make sure events like this run like clockwork. So it looks as though we have all 16 cars on the grid for this second of 2 20-minute races. And of course, it's point scoring. You get 44 points for a victory, 40 points for second, and 38 for third. And of course, a fantastic mix of different cars. You've got the likes of the Volkswagen Golfs, a few Scirocco's in there, but watch out also too for the very unique pair of Audi TTs in 4th and 5th, run by the father and son team of Simon and Owen Walton. And they'll be looking to try and improve. They've got a double podium yesterday. As you say, it was Simon ahead of Owen, I should say, on that grid. But it's Mark Wakefield who's doing double Gs this weekend. It made a pretty instant impact in his first TCR UK race with a podium in 3rd place. Now he's got to try and take more success by visiting the podium with a race win in race number 2. The cars are on the grid. The green flag flies, and race number 2 of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Club is ready to go. It is Russell Joyce on pole, but can he hold the lead down towards turn 1? Let's find out. Lights out, and we are racing at Donington Park. It's a clean start for Russell Joyce, but an equally good getaway for Jack Depper on the right screen in the black Scirocco as they head side by side down towards Redgate Corner. Jack Depper might be able to get his nose in front if he turns in towards the right-hander. Coggan tries to go with him up the inside for 2nd place, but just about holds on. He's got the line he needs and up to 2nd place already, so a good start from the 2nd row of the grid for yesterday's poleman Josh Coggan, trying to right the wrongs of yesterday where he lost out on the victory. But a cracking start actually from poleman Russell Joyce, taking full advantage of the reverse grid, and he holds on to the lead down towards Old Hairpin for the first time. Josh Coggan immediately putting him under pressure, corner. Meanwhile, looking at Martin Depp, who said to watch for him for 7th place. And Jack Depp loses it. There's contact. He's hit one of the Audis, spinning off into the infield. Severe damage to the front of the Scirocco. We can't say exactly which one of the Waltons that is, but here's an Audi TT in strife. That may possibly cause a safety car. It's the number 9. It's the Simon Walter yesterday in 2nd place. Simon Walter heading strife. So he's now tumbled down the order. He is certainly out of the race. Meanwhile, for the lead up on the inside into Coppice Corner goes Josh Coggan, but he can't get it done on the inside line. Martin Depp, meanwhile, straight up to 3rd place, and Rob Allam in 4. And the other Audi looks as though he's hit trouble. That's the number 9. It is the number 9. He's trying to recover, but the front left suspension is severely damaged, and he'll have to park that towards the edge of the circuit. Jack Depper is out of the race as well. Looked to me as if possibly Jack Depper lost the back end of the car and simply speared into the side of Simon Walton's Audi. Bit of bodywork flying off somebody. Well, that might be Tony Prendergast's cars that come through the complex. Someone else spinning. That was one of the JW Burr machines that went off the road after the chicane. So a very fast and frenetic first lap in this 2nd race for the Volkswagen Racing Cup. No sign of a safety car at the moment. That looks to me who it was the number 2 of Richard Gilbert that went for a spin. He recovers without too much dramas, but up towards the Goddard's hairpin for the end of the first lap. And impressively, Russell Joyce has not relinquished the lead, but Josh Coggan is putting him under provincial pressure. I think it might have been the 6 of Michael Jones that had the spin, so he's going to try and make his way up through the field as much as he can. But Russell Joyce leads the way then. 2nd place now for Josh Coggan. 3rd for Martin Depper, now under pressure from Rob Allam in 4th place. Down to 5th now from the start is now Owen Waltz, now that Simon is out of the equation thanks to his retirement on the 1st lap. Mark Wakefield, though, in 6th position with the success balance he'll be carrying, will be out of the race. Down towards the right hand of the old hairpin for the 2nd time. Head through now on the second lap as they come through. Here's a replay of what happened. Jack Depper losing it big time, sideways through the old hairpin, trying to gather it together. He looks as though he kept his foot firmly planted on the accelerator. The car speared its way across back onto the circuit into the hapless Simon Walton, who simply really had nowhere to go. And I think possibly the stewards may look at that and the thought of Jack Depper not taking his foot out of it after the spin. But of course, in the front-wheel drive place, if you boot the throttle and try to make it through as Josh Coggan's trying to make his way through, but they are racing towards the safety car boards. They all close up. Now, Josh Coggan has to back out of that because he may not have got the move done before they got to the safety car boards and flags, which he hadn't. So he backs in behind Russell Joyce, and now the cars will start to back off a little bit here to give them a chance to keep the temperature and pressures up in the tyres and brakes. So a very action-packed start as we see Jack Depper's rather sorry-looking Scirocco after that incident parked up on the inside, and that means that the snatch vehicle in the background will have to make do with heading across to retrieve the stricken Scirocco. As the BMW safety car speeds its way back towards pit lane, Russell Joyce now has to perform a safety car restart, which I'm suspecting possibly he may never have done in his racing life. It means that he becomes a safety car. In effect, he has to choose exactly when he wants to pull the pin and get this race restarted. He has one of 2 things to try and do, to either try and get a good enough restart to surprise everyone, or get away as quick as he can and hope that no one else goes with him on the run towards the final couple of corners. Weaving from side to side to get the heat back into the tyres. And try and pull a move as best as he can. Not yet, not yet. Not yet coming into Goddard's, just trying to back them up as much as he can. He might try and fire it off the final corner before they get the green flags, which he does now. Boots the throttle, and away he goes. He tries to sharpen off the exit of the corner as he comes back onto the pit straight, so they take the green flag, and racing is back underway here. Coggan has just about gone with him here, but a challenge for 3rd place now with Rob Allam on the outside line of Martin Depper down towards Redgate Corner. Might try and sweep across to get the apex for turn 1, but Martin Depper's got his car firmly on the inside line and doesn't relinquish the place. So Depper holds on to 3rd. Meanwhile, Josh Coggan trying to pull himself alongside race leader Russell Joyce with a good enough exit from Redgate. Swing down the credit curve, a big wiggle for Josh Coggan as he got a bit of oversteer in the middle of the 2nd part of the credit curve. That's the worst possible scenario. But now Mo's trying to get himself back as Russell Joyce gets shaky on the exit of the old hairpin. Martin Depper gets himself into the mix as well. It's now 3, almost 4 for the lead. They're almost 3 abreast as Martin Depper tries to shoot the gap, but he has to slot in behind Russell Joyce as Coggan looks up the inside line into McLean. There's a tag on the rear quarter from Coggan on Joyce. Round the outside is Martin Depper. They are 3 abreast on the exit up towards Coppice Corner. Depper could get them both on the run towards the right-hander. It is still 3 abreast. Coggan in the middle, Depper on the outside, Joyce on the inside line, and somehow still Russell Joyce has come out on top. Look at the cars behind him now. Owen Walters in the mix, so is Rob Allam, and so is yesterday's race winner Mark Wakefield. It is 6 of them for the lead down towards the S's as Russell Joyce blocks the gap in the middle of the road. Side by side for 2nd. Up the inside goes Martin Depper into the chicane. Russell Joyce cuts the chicane as he goes across towards the Melbourne Loop. All action stations here on the restart. someone getting very sideways on the exit, and now Martin Deppe somehow found his way through. So Russell Joyce possibly backed off to possibly not get to receive a penalty as a result of that. Mark Wakefield looking to the outside now for 5th place on Owen Walton. Well, on the restart, it's all kicked off here in the VW Cup for race number 2, but Martin Deppe, championship leader, finds himself back in the race lead here. As now Russell Joyce holds on to 2nd place. Josh Cock must be rattling the back of that bumper going, get out of my way, I want to lead this race and redeem myself for race 1. But he won't do it, especially with Rob Allen now looking to the outside line of Josh Coggan, this time for 3rd place. Meanwhile for P5 we see Owen Walton looking to the outside of Mark Wakefield. Deppe takes a slightly wider the racing line into Redgate corner. Russell Joyce is slightly tighter on the inside. Allen now under threat from both Walton and also Mark Wakefield. They're side by side 5th position. Now getting into 7th place, just behind him is Tony Prendergast. And just behind them also, Rory Clark has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.747. Could be 8 for them as Russell Joyce gets sideways on the exit of Old Hairpin. Almost a resemblance of what happened to Jack Deppe. He's onto the grass, keeps his foot in. Didn't realise this was rallycross rather than VW Cup. He bounds his way back onto the circuit, but the early race leader is tumbling down the order, possibly with problems as a result of that. Now Josh Coggan's up to 2nd place. Rob Allen, who's an independent, by the way, he's up to 3rd. 4th place for Owen Walton, past now Mark Wakefield into 5th position, and they're all stacking up behind them because look at 6th place for Tony Prendergast, 7th for Rory Clark, and 8th for Matt Evans. Here's a replay of what happened to Russell Joyce. Again, way too hot into Old Hairpin, big sideways moment a la Jack Deppe. This time managed to slot back in just in front of Mark Wakefield, who I think just about stood on the anchors to make sure he didn't make contact. Bounds his way back onto the circuit, but he loses several places. We'll see exactly where he ends up when they come across the line once again. He's back down to looks like 11th place as a result of that. And now throwing up the inside now for Rory Clark. Remember, this is from the back of the grid. Rory Clark, a fantastic drive for last year's vice-champion. He's now sent it up the inside from practically nowhere. He's torn past Prendergast and Wakefield, and now Owen Walton up into what is now looking to be 4th position. Now he's going for 4th up the inside of Walton as the Audi tries to go back down the outside line. And they sprint up the pit straight once again at the end of lap 6. Another new fastest lap of the race, this time for Rob Allen, who's on the rear bumper of Matt Deppe now. We've got less than 8 minutes to go in this 2nd race of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup that always delivers fantastic racing. The partially reversed grid certainly bringing plenty of action. As we head down the Craner curves, and Rob Allen is really applying the pressure to the back bumper of Martin Deppe as they come back down through the Craner curves. Now, can we all get through Old Hairpin without somebody getting sideways? So far, so good for the top 2. And Josh Coggan hasn't lost, he's roughly back up to speed, but he's lost so much time to the cars in front. He's more losing time and falling back into the clutches of Rory Clark and co behind in 4th place. The leaders come up through McLean's now for the 7th time. Coggan just holding station in 3rd, but he is being caught slowly but surely by Rory Clark and co behind him. There is Rob Allen, one of the most impressive independent drivers in the field this season, and doing a cracking job to keep pace with Martin Deppe, of course, who's a former touring car star, reverted back to the VW Cup. Of course, shares the same stable with his son Jack, who had an early exit, sadly. I'm not sure if there's any rain in the air, but it's very overcast. As Josh Coggan again very wide across the curbs. That won't do the car too good as he goes towards the Melbourne Loop, which sees Rob Allen again to the outside line into the hairpin. To get the undercut on the exit, but there just isn't any room through as he's tried to get the power down. Coggan again wide through the Melbourne Loop, now under threat from Rory Clark, who could be on for a podium place, as Allen again trying to get that outside line to get the switchback on the exit of Goddard to put himself alongside. Trouble is, he'll be on the outside line for Redgate corner if he can put himself alongside it. Is Scirocco on the left versus Golf on the right. And Allen is putting himself alongside here, down towards Redgate corner. He could be going for the lead. Can he switch in front? The answer is no, because Deppe has the inside line. So again, Allen goes for yet another cut back on the exit, but still cannot find the way through. 6 minutes to go in this 2nd race of the weekend for the VW Cup, and he gets another new fastest lap of the race. Rob Allen, he dips into the 142s, 142.934. These VWs rock on their suspension through the Craner curves. Meanwhile, for 3rd place, slightly way with Josh Coggan, having to take 2 bites of the cherry at the apex in the Golf through Old Hairpin. He's coming under severe pressure for 3rd place, as is, of course, Deppe from Allen. 2 very different experience levels, but 2 cars very evenly matched as they head through McLean's once again. There's the fight for 3rd. Coggan's car probably not all that comfortable with how it's set up at the moment. He had these problems in race 1, remember, yesterday, if you were watching. Led for most of the race, then had some problems on the front end and dropped all the way back. So whenever the issue is for Josh Coggan, Not all is well, I think, with that number 12 Golf as we head down towards the chicane. And again, Alan darting this way and that. He's trying to force a mistake, saying, come on, Martin, get out of my way. Either try and pull away or just let me through. But I'm sure that Martin Depp, with all his experience, he's not going to let him have it that easy. So Rob says, well, if you're going to play that hard ball, I'll try the long way around if you don't mind. Back into the braking zone. And again, Depp is so good at that, holding that inside line. Still can't find a way through. Rory Clark now looking for a switchback move of his own on the exit. And yet again, side by side into the hairpin. Martin Depper, it must be a master holding the inside line here to defend the place. Just showing him the edge of the road on the exit. Rob Allen puts the power back down to hold on to second place. Now he pulled himself alongside last time by. He's not close enough this time. Unless he can make a switchback move, which he does, looking to the inside to try and force a mistake from Depper. Still no way through, but Rob Allen is absolutely determined to make this move here. Now, there are some spots of rain on the camera and on the commentary box window here, so there is a little bit of rain falling. Now, who's this going to benefit, of course? It's on a slightly slick track we're getting here, on slick tyres. Are we going to see more moments into the old hairpin? Let's wait and see. Into the right hand at the bottom of the hill they go. Still Depper from Allen, the top two breaking away. The gap between second and third now is roughly around 4 seconds. So these two are sort of, whilst battling, still inadvertently working together to pull this gap out to the cars behind in the separate fight for third. Just looking back down through the order, still with, I think, Josh Coughlin in third. Rory Clark is in fourth position. Owen Walter fifth. And yesterday's race winner, Mark Wakefield, still in sixth. But look at the gap from a fourth, third place now, 4 of them all together. And because Rory Clark is being held up here, as we see Mark Wakefield going up the inside of Owen Walton, stealing fifth position away. Because Josh Coughlin is almost holding him up, or I said that, must have spoken too soon, because through it goes both Clark and Wakefield and also Walton. I think there's possible problems now for Josh Coughlin. It must be a gearbox problem or a power delivery issue of some kind, because he struggled to get drive off the corner and has dropped back now, also behind Tony Prendergast. So again, all is not well with the Golf as the leaders come back into the hairpin. Still, no change in the order between Depper and Coughlin, but you have to say, for third place now, Rory Clark from the back of the grid. There's a reason why he was vice champion last year, as again, finally this time, Rob Allen gets the move done on the outside line, but I may have spoken too soon. He goes too deep into Goddard's hairpin, and we're almost back where we started. However, this time Rob Allen is in prime position. He's on the inside line. He's side by side with Depper on the run down Red Gate corner. Finally, he could be in the prime position to make the move. Up towards the right-hander, under brakes, and at last, Rob Allen has finally prized the door open, and he makes the move stick on Martin Depper. Unless Depper can put himself alongside again, Rob Allen must be thinking, what do I have to do to get rid of Martin Depper? And the answer is, well, hasn't found it yet, but Martin Depper, through the craner curves rather impressively, finds his way back past, and we're back to square one once again with 2.5 minutes to go. So, Depper from Allen this time. Scirocco versus Golf. They go through Starkeys. Back in the back of the third place. Rory Clark will have Mark Wakefield on his tail now that he's disposed of Owen Walton. And Tony Prendergast having a slightly quieter race, but he's now back in 6th position. Josh Coughlin appears to still be circulating in 7th place. He hasn't dropped back too much further, but he has lost substantial ground. In fact, he's going to possibly be passed by Matt Evans by not much longer. As looking round the outside line goes Mark Wakefield to make a move on Rory Clark for 3rd place. Needed to head back into the chicane. What's been a fantastic duel between these two. Oh, lots of curve taken as Martin Depper rocked over the second part of the chicane. That's how much he's pushing to try and hold on to this race victory. And Rob Allen again looking to the outside, trying to capitalise on that small lapse in concentration, that small mistake from Martin Depper. Experienced as he is, even the most experienced hands can make mistakes here in this championship. As they make the sprint up the hill now, we're going to get one more time around here. As up the inside line again goes Rob Allen. And I think Martin Depp will think, okay, you have the inside line, I'll try and get you back on the exit. But that strategy hasn't quite worked because Rob Allen has covered him off on the apex and now holds the leads to come across the line to start the last lap here at Donington Park of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Rob Allen now has to hold on for one more tour for Donington Park Grand Prix circuit to pick up a race victory ahead of championship leader Martin Depper. But that is easier said than done. It was 0.2 of a second across the line between the pair of them as they head down the craner curves for the final time. Rory Clark still holds station in 3rd place, Wakefield still 4th, Walter 5th and Prendergast in 6th. Josh Coughlin back down 7th. Small little lock up there from Allen, and Depper might try to capitalise on that on the sprint through Starkeys. He's got the outside line, but Allen might try and cover him off and show him the edge of the road, but there's just about enough of a Scirocco-sized gap to go up the inside line for McLean's. Depper's got his nose in front and gets back into the lead. It's a fantastic race on scrap that we've had between the pair of them, but it's not over yet. There's still half a lap to go. Allen again, back to the outside line. He may look to the outside if he's brave enough. Has to grip on the outside. He may go for it on the racing line. But Depper again gets the better drive off the corner and holds on to the place. They're side by side again. It's a drag race as they sprint down towards the chicane for the final time. And Allen just about gets his nose in front. Depper thinks, right, I'll sit back here for the moment, try and get the run off the corner and try and make a move either at Melbourne or down towards Goddard. The clock has hit 0. It's either now or never. Either Allen or Depper will win this race. The question is, in which order will they cross the line? Into the hairpin for the final time. Allen defends. Depper will look for the switchback on the exit, but Allen parks it nicely on the exit of the corner and just about holds on. There's one final chance here for Depper, who is looking to the inside, but he's too far back. Into Goddard's for the final time in what's been a sensational second race and the battle up at the front, but Martin Depper's run out of chances, and it will be Rob Allen who will sprint to the checkered flag and take a brilliant victory in race 2 for the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Second place goes to points leader Martin Depper. For third place from the back of the grid, a delighted Rory Clark. Fourth place for Mark Wakefield, and on the line it's a drag race between Owen Walton and Tony Prendergast, and Walton got it by 42 1,000ths of a second. Josh Coughlin with more problems in that car, finishing a lowly 7th, 8th place for Evans, and pole sitter Russell Joyce, after all his antics, ends up in 9th place ahead of Mark Steele in P10. In what was a breathtaking race, certainly for me. But what a fantastic effort that was. A sensational race-long duel between these two at the front of the field. But Rob Allen, the independent runner with Illumi Motorsport, is your race winner, but he had to work incredibly hard for that because Martin Depper did not let him have that easy for one single moment. He's earned every single moment of that victory. I'm sure Martin Depper and co will certainly appreciate his efforts and what was a very hard-fought effort. And of course, credit has to go as well to Rory Clark. In comparison yesterday, not even completing really one lap in race 1 after starting at the back of the grid. He put in a vice-champion light drive to pick up 3rd place. That's what possibly could have been for Jack Depper after a collision on the first lap between himself and Simon Walton, putting both cars out as we head down towards the end of that lap. Of course, next time by, the 2 Brands Hatch rounds at Indy and the Grand Prix circuit, and they'll be back here in September for the season finale. Will we get more racing like that in a few months' time? Here's confirmation of the result of that brilliant second race. Rob Allen wins by 0.8 of a second from Martin Depper. Rory Clark from the back of the grid to 3rd, just beating Mark Wakefield by half a second, who is in 4th place. 5th place for Owen Walton, 5th for Tony Prendergast, 7th for Josh Coughlin, 8th for Matt Evans, 9th for Russell Joyce, and 10th for Mark Steele, with Gilbert, Alden, Jones, Smith, and then Jack Depper, a non-finisher, as was Simon Walton at the end of that race. Here's some of the highlights of what was an unbelievable second race. From the pole position, Russell Joyce did get a pretty good start, but Jack Depper tried to go along with him on the sprint down towards turn 1. It was E.U. Stevens on the run into Redgate corner, with Josh Coughlin finding a way up the inside for 2nd place. Depper couldn't cover him off quick enough, and Coughlin was up into P2 on the exit of Redgate, running through the Crenna Curbs. Then, one of the key moments in the race, Jack Depper with a big sideways moment, coming back onto the circuit, clatters into the side of Simon Walton, and both cars are out on the spot, even though Simon Walton did try and recover that car as best he could afterwards. Then, a fantastic race-long battle between Rob Allen and Martin Depper. Initial attempt from Rob Allen saw him lose out on the exit, being too ambitious into the Goddard's hairpin, but this is one of the key passes he made. Depper managed to force his way back up the inside line in a fantastic back-and-forth battle with several changes in position, but this was the final move that made it then into the chicane for Rob Allen, and he held on through the final lap into the final corner to take the victory. Will it be the same at Brands Hatch? Wait and see, but join us next time for more action from the Maximum Group Volkswagen Racing Cup.